Welcome to Book Nibbles. Big ideas, small bites. Yuval Noah Harari's Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow, takes the reader on an audacious exploration of humanity's future, drawing connections between our past triumphs, present dilemmas, and the possible paths that lie ahead. The book begins by reminding us of the staggering accomplishments that have brought Homo sapiens to a place of dominance on the planet. Centuries ago, humans were largely concerned with survival, battling famine, plague, and war. These three forces defined life, shaping cultures, religions, and philosophies. Yet over time, humans have gained unprecedented control over nature and society. Advances in agriculture, medicine, and technology have allowed global populations to grow, mortality rates to plummet, and diseases to be tamed. For the first time in history, more people are likely to live past 70 than die before it, and hunger, once a universal threat, now exists more as a problem of distribution and politics than of scarcity. From this perspective of triumph over traditional scourges, Harari begins to examine the next stages of human ambition. With survival increasingly assured, humans have turned their attention to achieving something far more audacious: immortality, happiness, and divinity, or at least godlike powers. Hence the title, Homo Deus, which literally translates to God-man. Harari explores how human focus has shifted from survival to enhancement, from living to thriving, and ultimately to transcending our biological limitations. This shift raises profound questions about ethics, purpose, and identity. If suffering can be mitigated and death delayed, what becomes the meaning of life? If algorithms know us better than we know ourselves, what is freedom? And if humans can design intelligence superior to their own, what role will Homo sapiens play in the unfolding story of life? The book methodically builds its argument by first examining how humanity moved from being powerless in the face of famine, plague, and war to controlling them, at least in some measure. For famine, Harari notes the dramatic reduction of starvation through modern agriculture, global trade, and the industrialization of food production. He reminds us that in the past, famines were often seen as acts of God, mysterious and unavoidable. Today, however, famine is usually caused by human mismanagement or political failure rather than natural necessity. Plagues, too, once the great equalizer, are increasingly manageable through vaccines, antibiotics, and improved sanitation. War, the third existential threat, has evolved differently. Modern warfare still causes destruction, but technological advances and global political structures have made large-scale conflicts between great powers far less frequent. Harari's examples, such as the eradication of smallpox or the dramatic decline in death rates from infectious diseases, illustrate humanity's growing ability to bend nature to its will. With these triumphs in hand, humans have begun to dream beyond mere survival. Harari examines the pursuit of immortality as a key theme for the 21st century. Medical technology, regenerative biology, and genetic engineering have created the possibility of extending life far beyond what was once imaginable. The book explores concepts such as organ regeneration, anti-aging drugs, and the tantalizing prospect of halting biological decline. Yet, Harari warns, these advances may not be equally distributed. The pursuit of immortality could lead to a society divided not just by wealth, but by lifespan itself. Those with access to life-extending technology could inhabit a world entirely separate from the rest of humanity, potentially creating new forms of inequality that surpass anything seen before. Closely linked to immortality is the quest for happiness. Harari observes that contemporary humans are far more concerned with mental satisfaction than mere survival. Traditional religions provided frameworks for happiness and meaning, often promising fulfillment in an afterlife. Today, science and technology aim to provide happiness here and now, through pharmaceuticals, brain stimulation, and behavioral engineering. The book discusses research into neurochemistry and psychology that reveals how moods can be artificially manipulated, and how consumer culture increasingly leverages this knowledge to sell experiences, goods, and identities. Harari emphasizes that while these advances hold promise, they also risk creating societies in which the pursuit of happiness is commodified, and individuals may find their emotional states increasingly dictated by algorithms and corporate interests. Harari then shifts to exploring how human societies organize themselves and assign meaning. He introduces the concept of humanism as the dominant ideology of the modern age, a belief system that places humans at the center of value. Humanism emerged as an alternative to religious systems, prioritizing human experience, agency, and creativity. Within this framework, the individual becomes sacred, autonomy is paramount, and the pursuit of personal fulfillment is a moral good. Harari contrasts humanism with older hierarchies and religious doctrines, noting that even in a secular age, humans cling to stories that grant meaning to life, whether in the form of art, politics, or social movements. Yet humanism itself may be challenged as technology begins to outstrip human capacity. If algorithms can predict desires better than we can, and if artificial intelligence surpasses human reasoning, the centrality of the human being is called into question. This leads naturally into a discussion of the rise of data and algorithms. Harari argues that dataism, the belief that the universe can be understood through information flow and computation, may supplant humanism as the defining ideology of the 21st century. Unlike humanism, which venerates subjective experience, dataism values the collection, processing, and optimization of information. Harari offers examples ranging from social media algorithms predicting personal preferences to AI systems managing traffic, finance, and even healthcare. In such a society, the most important quality is not creativity or intelligence in the traditional sense, but the ability to gather and process data. Decisions once reserved for human judgment, ranging from hiring to medical treatment, may increasingly be delegated to algorithms. This raises profound questions about free will, ethics, and the role of human consciousness. Harari also examines the potential consequences of merging biology with technology. Biotechnology, genetic engineering, and brain-computer interfaces may allow humans to redesign themselves, creating post-human or Homo Deus beings with enhanced physical and cognitive capacities. He recounts historical examples, such as selective breeding and eugenics, to show that humans have long attempted to control evolution. Modern technologies, however, make these processes exponentially more powerful and precise. From gene editing tools like CRISPR to sophisticated prosthetics and cognitive enhancers, the ability to modify human bodies and minds is no longer science fiction. Harari illustrates how these tools might be used to extend intelligence, reduce vulnerability to disease, or even alter personality traits. Yet such interventions raise ethical dilemmas. Who decides what traits are desirable? Could the wealthy manipulate evolution in their favor, creating a biologically privileged class? And what of the moral status of modified humans or artificial intelligences that may surpass human capabilities? The book delves into the philosophical implications of these transformations, particularly the tension between humanism and dataism. Harari argues that if algorithms can outperform humans in predicting behavior, analyzing complex problems, and optimizing outcomes, then traditional notions of consciousness, decision-making, and moral responsibility may become obsolete. Human desires, once considered the ultimate measure of value, may be subordinated to systems that prioritize efficiency and information processing. In this emerging world, humans may be valued less for subjective experience and more as nodes within vast networks of data flow. Harari warns that such a shift could fundamentally alter society, creating a world in which the individual's importance diminishes relative to the system as a whole. Harari also examines the role of artificial intelligence in shaping the future. He describes a scenario in which AI systems outperform humans not only in manual labor but also in intellectual tasks. Jobs traditionally reserved for humans, drivers, accountants, journalists, even doctors, may be increasingly automated. Beyond employment, AI could assume responsibilities in governance, finance, and even law enforcement, potentially undermining human agency. Harari draws attention to the danger of useless class formation, where a significant portion of the population is economically redundant. In such a scenario, social stability would depend on radical new forms of governance, redistribution, or perhaps redefinition of what it means to live a meaningful life. Another major theme in Homo Deus is the future of warfare. Harari explores how technology may transform conflict from human-dominated arenas to algorithmic and drone-based engagements. Autonomous weapons and cyber warfare could render traditional armies obsolete, and the moral calculus of war may shift when humans are no longer directly involved in fighting. He also discusses bioengineering as a tool for creating soldiers with enhanced strength, resilience, or cognitive capacity. These possibilities highlight the dual-use nature of emerging technologies. The same innovations that can heal or empower can also harm or dominate. Harari continually emphasizes the ethical dimension of these advancements. He uses vivid examples, such as the possibility of hackable humans, whose emotions, thoughts, and decisions could be externally manipulated. If algorithms can optimize behavior for efficiency or profit, what happens to autonomy and consent? The book raises unsettling questions about control, surveillance, and the concentration of power. If only a few entities, governments or corporations, can access and process vast amounts of data, then they may hold unprecedented influence over individuals and societies. Harari cautions that such power, combined with biotechnology and AI, could make historical forms of oppression look tame by comparison. Yet the book is not purely dystopian. Harari also imagines scenarios in which technology could enhance human life in unprecedented ways. Diseases could be eradicated, intelligence could be amplified, and emotional experiences could be optimized. Human creativity and exploration could reach new heights as physical and cognitive limitations are reduced. In this vision, the challenge is not the impossibility of progress but the ethical and philosophical questions it creates. What kind of society do we want to build? Which values should guide technological development? How do we ensure that advances serve the common good rather than a narrow elite? Harari also draws connections between the present and future, emphasizing patterns from history that continue to influence humanity. For example, he illustrates how human societies have always been organized around shared myths and collective imagination, be it religion, nationalism, or money. He argues that these myths allowed large numbers of strangers to cooperate, creating complex civilizations. In the future, however, shared myths may be replaced or augmented by algorithms that predict and shape human behavior, potentially redefining cooperation in entirely new ways. The implications are staggering. What happens to culture, law, and morality when humans no longer fully understand the systems that govern them? Throughout the book, Harari also revisits the question of suffering and happiness. He challenges the assumption that technological progress automatically leads to human fulfillment. While material needs may be met more efficiently, the human mind remains vulnerable to dissatisfaction, anxiety, and existential longing. Neurochemical manipulation, immersive virtual realities, and social media may provide temporary relief, but they do not resolve fundamental questions about purpose, meaning, or connection. Harari suggests that future technologies may alleviate physical suffering while leaving emotional and spiritual challenges intact, or even magnifying them. In exploring the trajectory of Homo sapiens, Harari repeatedly emphasizes the contingent nature of history. Our past triumphs over famine, plague, and war were not inevitable. They arose from particular technological, social, and cultural conditions. Similarly, the paths that lie ahead are not predetermined. Humanity faces choices. We may become godlike, designing our own evolution and mastering life itself, or we may confront new forms of inequality, alienation, and control. Harari's examples, from the ethical dilemmas of gene editing to the rise of predictive algorithms, illustrate that the future will be shaped as much by decisions and values as by raw technology. Harari concludes by reflecting on the potential meaning of Homo Deus. If humans gain godlike powers, the old frameworks of religion, morality, and society may become obsolete. The question is not simply what we can do, but what we should do. Will humans use their powers to enhance collective welfare, create more equitable societies, and expand the richness of life? Or will we pursue narrow self-interest, amplifying inequalities, and creating new forms of suffering? The book leaves readers with both awe and trepidation, emphasizing that the future is a canvas on which humanity must paint carefully, guided not only by intelligence but by wisdom and ethical reflection. In sum, Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow is a sweeping meditation on the possibilities and perils of the coming century. Harari blends history, philosophy, science, and speculative vision to illuminate how humans moved from survival-driven creatures to beings capable of reshaping life itself. He traces the journey from famine, plague, and war to immortality, happiness, and divinity, revealing both the extraordinary potential of human ingenuity and the profound ethical challenges it entails. By focusing on data, algorithms, biotechnology, and artificial intelligence, Harari underscores the ways in which traditional human values may be tested, transformed, or even transcended. The book forces readers to confront questions that were once the domain of science fiction. What does it mean to be human when machines surpass our intelligence? What constitutes free will when algorithms can predict our behavior? And how do we define morality when we can redesign the very fabric of life? Ultimately, Harari's narrative is a call to mindfulness and responsibility. While the future holds unprecedented power, it also holds unprecedented danger. Homo sapiens may become Homo Deus, but the transformation demands wisdom, foresight, and a commitment to the common good. The story is both thrilling and unsettling, painting a picture of a species on the brink of godlike capability, yet still wrestling with timeless questions of meaning, ethics, and identity. Harari's book is a masterful blend of historical insight and futuristic speculation, urging readers to think critically about the forces shaping our destiny and the choices that will define life in the century ahead. And that's it. Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow by Yuval Noah Harari. Thanks for listening to Book Nibbles. If you enjoyed this bite-sized book, don't forget to subscribe for more quick, insightful summaries. See you in the next nibble.